Sir, would you like to do a show?
Sure.
Okay,
Okay.
let's do it.
Welcome to Star Trek Asterisk, the weekly podcast where we watch Star Trek and then talk about it. Today is a very special end of the world edition.
Of Star Trek Asterisk.
Yes.
So if you're watching this later, oops, we kind of borked the apocalypse. So I guess we'll have to wait till the next one, whenever that's going to be.
Or Doctor Who saved us, or the Winchesters saved us, or Buffy the Vampire Slayer saved us. Whichever one.
Or Sean saved us.
Or Sean saved us.
Yeah.
Anyway, in any case, today we watched 3 episodes from season 1 of Star Trek: The Next Generation. They were too short a season. When the Bough Breaks and Home Soil.
Yep.
And in too short a season, this guy calls us up and says, these terrorists on my planet have hostages. We need this specific admiral to come and help us to negotiate with them to let the hostages go.
Yep.
I'm trying to look up this admiral's name. Admiral Jameson. Admiral
Yeah,
Mark Jameson.
I remember the Jameson because I thought, oh, he's drunk.
And so they call up this admiral, and he is frighteningly old. Like, he could crack at any minute.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Literally crack.
Yeah. He's yeah.
Older than bones.
Older than dirt.
Looks like it anyway. So he comes aboard the Enterprise, and he's in this special wheelchair.
He's in this weird chair. It's not even like a wheelchair. It's like a.
Well, yeah.
It's like that box thing that Captain Pike was in back in that one episode in the original series.
Except more open.
Except more open and less beefy.
Right. So yeah, so they go on their way, and while they're traveling, Jameson goes to his quarters with his wife, and he kind of struggles out of his chair to move onto a regular chair, and feels this pang in his side, and his wife is all concerned. Is, oh, do you want me to call the sick bay? And he's like, no, it's all right. It's happened before. It'll pass.
Yeah, I'll be fine. Don't worry about me.
Yeah.
Just
like old men do.
Tend your business, woman.
Yeah. So, but obviously, we as the audience knows that this is not a good sign.
Yes, something dirty work is afoot.
Yes. We go a little further, and we find out that the next day, Admiral Jameson looks a little bit younger.
Mm-hmm.
And
kind of creepily so.
Yeah. And let's see. There's a lot of talking in this episode, so I'm trying to go between what actually happened and what was being said. Basically, it comes out after a while that Jameson and this guy who was asking for him, they used to work together or something. And
yeah, there was some incident they were together on.
Yeah, they were doing a hostage negotiation back then.
And he, in fact, like, the guy didn't trust anybody else. He wanted to speak with only Jameson. He wouldn't even trust his own people to be in the same room with him.
Right. So Jameson wanted to be stronger when he met this guy, so that he would have confidence in him. And just being old sucks anyway. So
being old does kind of suck. Even though, like, I'm the youngest one of us now, except for Bean, but
True.
whatever.
Well, whatever. So he went and found. There's basically this fountain of youth type of thing on this other planet, and he went there seeking this drug. So he calls it.
Yeah, it's some kind of alien treatment that's like an anti-aging something, some kind of either chemical or technology or whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. The point is, he found this thing and he wants to use it to accomplish his goal of making himself younger and more, as you said earlier, virile, so that he can stand up to this guy and put up a good fight if necessary.
Right. So that's what he did, and he doesn't tell everyone at first.
In fact, he doesn't tell his wife at first either.
Right.
And she gets really upset about it because she's like, well, now you're getting younger, but I'm still old, and how's that going to work with us?
Yeah.
And what happened to all of our happy years together?
Yeah.
And so she's concerned. She talks to Dr. Crusher and Counselor Troy, and they're like, look, he's the same man
Same man
that
on the
you
inside.
yeah, on
Yeah.
the inside. He's the same guy on the inside, but he's just younger. She's like, well, I don't want him to be younger. I'm getting older. I want us to grow old together, not in any of this other crap. I don't want me to die and then he's just hanging around being young. That sucks.
Pretty much. It's like the people be asking if he's his son or something.
Yep.
So yeah, eventually, Kirk finds out. The rest of the crew finds out, and this anti-aging thing is apparently illegal in Starfleet. So he's taking it at a huge risk.
And not only that, he's apparently taken too much.
Yeah. He overdosed himself with it. So that's where the pangs in his side are coming in, and they just keep coming back again and again. Eventually, he becomes this young man, like in his 20s, and Picard meets him in the observation lounge, and they have this talk. Like the entire episode is talking, so they talk some more.
It is a very talky episode. It kind of bored me, honestly.
Yeah, and I don't even remember what it's about. Apparently, it wasn't important. So, in the next scene, Jameson talks on a secure line with the guy who's on the planet they're going to, and come to find out, this guy doesn't even have any terrorists on his planet. So they're going over there to negotiate with terrorists that don't exist.
That aren't even there.
He is apparently holding the hostages, and
He's looking for revenge.
yeah,
Because what happened was Jameson, years and years ago, as his sort of solution to the problem of these two groups fighting it out, he's like, okay, here, have some big nasty weapons, both of you. And he figured, oh, it'll be a nice short civil war and somebody will die out and then everybody will be fine. But no, this thing has been going on for 40 years.
Yeah.
And so this guy's like, you know what? You're the one that gave us these weapons and made all this bloodbath happen. So I'm going to kill you with one of the weapons you gave us.
yeah. So Jameson decides, okay, this is what he's planning. So let's go like a double the speed, get there twice as fast, and catch him off guard, and see if we can't get to him before he gets to us.
Right.
So they do that. They go down to the planet. They beam down, and Jameson is leading the OA team, and he's telling them to go one way, where Data says, "No, that's a dead end over there. We got to go this way." But Jameson doesn't care. He knows these tunnels like the back of his hand. Well, he knows these tunnels as they were 20 years ago, like the back of his hand.
Yeah, they have mappings of these tunnels from like the last couple of years where shit is different.
Exactly. Yeah. And he gets to a dead end. He has to cut through it. And they basically run into an ambush or something. And they have a phaser fight. It's the only action in the entire episode. And during the phaser fight, he doubles over again in pain. They beam up after that? Yeah.
Yeah, they beam up. Picard's like, okay, get us the hell out of here.
Yeah. They beam back up and they contact this guy again.
And the guy's like, so we just had an armed invasion. That sounds like Jameson. Where is he?
Yeah.
And they're like, we have him. You can't have him. He's like, I don't think so. So you're going to send him back down and we're going to execute him because that's how this is going to work.
Yes. So the entire OA team, well, okay, no, not the entire OA team. Just Jameson, Beverly, and Picard beam down. And the guy's like, who's this? This isn't Jameson, because he's like a young man. He's like
who's this douchebag?
He's like 19 now or something.
Yeah.
And so they try to convince him, no, this is Jameson. He took this drug that made him younger. And eventually he agrees because Jameson knows things only Jameson would know, and eventually he shows the scar on his arm where they made a blood pact or something like that.
Yep.
And the guy says, "Okay, yes, you are Jameson."
I don't know how, even though they explained it in detail.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're Jameson, but you are. Well, we tried to tell you, you big jerk.
Yeah. So that let's see, with that being discovered, he takes a fire phaser out and tries to shoot him, and no, he starts to shoot him, but he comes back and says, "You know what? You're in a lot of pain right now, right?" Because the pain in his side is coming back. He's actually doubling over and he's all suffering and stuff.
In fact, the because of the dosage he took, now his internal organs are starting to regress to the point where they can't support him.
Right.
And the
Yes.
guy's like, "So you know what? I want to watch you die in agony like this. This is more fun for me."
Yes. And then Jameson's wife beams down, and they have a lovely parting scene where Jameson is dying and his wife is all sad and crying and stuff, but the audience can't bring themselves to care because it's just been kind of boring and we don't really have any good reason to like this character.
It's true.
So Jameson dies, and the guy says that he'll release the hostages unharmed, because he's satisfied now.
And he's like, I'll take my punishment, whatever. Just, do your thing.
And that's basically the end.
Yep.
So, sound off on this episode.
I almost fell asleep, but I was so bored that I couldn't bring myself to actually fall asleep. I was actually more excited to wait for the end of the episode.
Yeah, it's and even the director of this episode, as I've read in Memory Alpha, was like, this is a lot of sit and tell, and he likes to show and tell. So it's not really one of the upsides of the season, but hey, it's part of the canon, so
Whatever works.
The next episode is When the Bough Breaks. You want to start this one off?
No, you go ahead and get it started. You're
Okay.
on a roll tonight. I like this.
Okay. Okay. The name of the planet that they are researching, Aldea. They're investigating the Epsilon Minos system, apparently, and
Which gets Riker really excited.
yeah. Riker's really excited because this planet of Aldea is legendary. Apparently, they are able to cloak themselves, the entire planet, and it's like the lost city of Atlantis. They're like ancient, and they have this city that takes care of everything that they need, so that they're able to focus on like artistic things, music, art, whatever, and so this is like a mythological place, and Riker's really excited because apparently he knows all about it. And they look out the view screen, and they see a little shimmer, and a planet appears, and it's the Aldeans. And then the Aldeans contact them, and they know who Riker is, and they say they basically say, okay, let us come up here and we'll introduce ourselves. So a couple of them just out of nowhere beam onto the bridge, using their own transporters, and they say hi. They give them a little fruit basket, and they say, "Hey, you guys should come down. We'll talk. We'll dance. We'll schmooze. We'll have fun. We'll just like, come on." And so
At that point, they realize, you know what? We didn't just happen upon this discovery. They drew us here for a certain reason.
And so they beam back down. Um, and after a while, they contact them again and they say, all right, we're ready to meet with you guys down here. We'll take Riker, we'll take Dr. Crusher, and we'll take Troy. Those three people beam down, and the rest are left up on the bridge without any explanation. So, and once they're down there, um, basically, they explain. Um, they don't explain the children yet, but they kind of get a little.
They say
Glimpse
you've
into
got something that we want, and
yeah.
we're prepared to compensate you very fairly in return.
Right.
And they finally get around to the point that they actually need the children
Right.
because of some genetic condition of theirs that their scientists couldn't figure out. They are no longer able to bear children, so they have this amazingly advanced civilization that they can't do anything with because they can't reproduce. So they need the children so they can raise the children, teach them all about their customs and their ways, and give them all the knowledge they have so they can procreate and continue on the race. And they're like, I don't think so. And, Counselor Troy says, I don't think you understand. Humans are unusually attached to their offspring. Okay.
I mean, look at Wesley and Beverly so
Oh my
attached to him. I mean,
God.
that's very unusual.
Cut the apron strings at some point, Beverly, please. So they're like, well, we have to have the children, and that's just that. And then the children start disappearing from the ship. They take the children from the ship and take them. They beam them down with their little whatever it's called, and
Right.
bring them down to the planet. And so everybody on the ship's freaking out because, oh my God, where's my kid gone? Blah blah blah. And Wesley's down there with the kids, and he's sort of like the leader, and he's like, "Don't worry, we'll figure this out somehow." And so Picard's like, "Hey, what the fuck, bros? Why did you take our kids?" And he's like, "Look,
He's really agitated, though.
oh yeah, he's like really upset about this." And the guy's like, "Hey, there's no need to get emotional about it." And Picard's like, "Buh." The guy's like, "Look, we told you. We'll talk to you. We'll compensate you very fairly. We'll give you knowledge that would, immediately advance your civilization centuries beyond where it is now, and then you could just go on and, you'll be fine." He's like, "But we want the children back." And he goes, "Well, you can have more children. We can't."
Right.
And they said, "You're missing the point. We want those kids." So Picard's basically like, "All right, something's got to be done about this." In the meantime, the guy's like, "All right, listen here. Let me give you a small sample of the kind of power that we possess and we could possibly share with you." And they hit them, with a repulsor beam that knocks them back. And Picard goes, "What the fuck just happened?" Geordi goes, "You're not gonna believe this, but we're 3 days away from them at like warp 9."
Yeah.
He's like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, what was that? Some kind of crazy repulsor beam they have." It's like, "Fuck, fine, whatever." So they're like, "Let's head back." In the meantime, the kids are starting to adjust to their new parents a little bit. They're starting to adapt new skill sets and things like that, and it kind of seems like they're kind of cheating as far as their skills and whatnot. You know what I mean? Like the tools are
Yeah.
doing most of the work for them.
Yeah. And in some cases.
Yeah, especially with like the sculpting,
Yeah.
And in the meantime, one of the women takes Wesley to this big computer that basically runs everything for them.
The custodian.
The custodian. And the custodian has all of this information about their race and the knowledge and blah, blah, blah. And she basically tells the custodian, she's like, "Okay, listen, this is Wesley Crusher. Anything he asks, you go ahead and tell him. Give him, what was it, level 3 they call it?
Yeah.
Level 3 clearance, which is basically ask anything you want." And so then he starts asking her questions because there's not a computer there that can tell him everything. And she's like, "You're asking too many questions. We need to get back to work." So as they go on, he meets back with the children, and they're like, "Look, these people are cool and all, but we don't want to stay here. We want to go back to our parents." And Wesley's like, "All right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pull the whole conscientious objector thing. We're gonna just not do stuff. We're gonna refuse to do their like work with them. We're gonna refuse to eat. We're gonna show them that we don't want to be here. That way they can't. They dare not harm us because they need us.
Right.
But that way they'll return us to our parents because they'll know we're miserable and they want our best interest at heart, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so the Enterprise gets back, and Picard's like, "All right, you have got to find a way through their shield." And they realize that there's a shift in the shield frequency.
Yeah, a little
that they
fluctuation.
Huh?
A little fluctuation.
Yeah, that they can exploit and beam through it. So a party beams down. Picard beams down to the kids and all gathers up all the kids. And was it Riker and Geordi that beamed down to?
I think it was Worf and Geordi.
Oh, it was Worf. You're
Yeah.
right. It was Worf and Geordi.
Yeah.
That beamed down to where the custodian was, and they work with Wesley and were able to disable the custodian systems and turn off the power source to disable the shield.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Picard takes all the kids back into the room with their leader. With the leader, what was his name again?
Oh, who remembers?
Who remembers? And they get back in there, and he's like, "Well, what's the meaning of this?" And Picard's like, "Look, these kids don't want to stay. They need to be with their parents. And guess what? Our own Dr. Crusher has figured out why the hell you guys can't have kids." He goes, "No, they didn't. No, she didn't. Our scientists couldn't figure out." He goes, "Your scientists don't even try anymore. The custodian does everything for you. You don't try."
Mm-hmm.
And Crusher goes on to explain, it's like, "Look, you guys have radiation poisoning. This shield that you've had around your world for centuries, that has been cloaking you from everybody else, has actually been putting off radiation to you that has been..."
It's been depleting the ozone layer. The sun has been bringing radiation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's close
I
enough.
missed a detail. So anyway, she compared it to how in our current day Earth, we are screwing ourselves over, global warming and whatnot. We're never going to have kids, Steve.
Shucks.
I know. But yeah, so they're like, "Oh my God, that she may be right." And so they go and they find this giant power source, and they're reading these huge amounts of radiation coming off of it, especially after they disable the shield.
Yeah.
And so they're like, "You know what? Let's take this thing and maybe actually give a damn about how our culture is set up and how
Let's
things
actually
work."
try to learn now.
And yeah, let's do that and see what happens. And then the kids go back, the people stay there, everybody has fun time, and that's the end.
Hooray! There's one kid, Harry, who at the very beginning, he's running away from his dad. And he runs into Riker, and his dad comes along, and he's like, "No, I don't want to. I don't want to do calculus. I want to bang on the drum all day or something." And so, and we follow him throughout the story, and when he goes down to the planet, he's learning sculpting, and he really actually likes it. And I think if Wesley wasn't there, he might have actually stayed. And then at the end, he he meets back up with his dad and says, "I really like to carve. Can I carve instead of calculus?" And his dad is like, "Well, you can be whatever you want to be, son, but you still have to take
You
calculus."
still got to do calculus.
And that's really kind of the point of this entire episode.
Yeah, is that, there are certain responsibilities that you have in life, but you still have a lot of things you have a lot of opportunity.
Right. You have opportunity, you have responsibility, and life is kind of mixing those two together.
You have to find the correct balance.
Correct.
Yes.
And you can't have a custodian watching over you all the time.
No, you can't leave the computer in charge, or otherwise everybody gets dumb.
Yeah.
So get off after our show. Go outside and play.
Except for the binars, but that's completely different.
Well, that's yeah.
whatever. Did you like this episode?
I kind of like it. I just, it's a Wesley centric episode, and so I immediately go,
Yeah, well,
"Shut up, Wesley!
yeah. He
Shut up!"
he has a kind of, I mean, it's a good kind of a good role in this particular episode though.
Yeah,
So
I suppose.
okay, so the next episode is Home Soil, and in this episode we're going to this planet that's being terraformed, and why are we going there now?
Well,
Yeah.
we found this planet
Yeah.
that has the proper gravity. It's got the proper day-night cycle. It's got the proper rotation. It's got the proper, it's got all the the makings of a good Class M planet, but there's no life and no real atmosphere there. So what they're doing is they're going there to terraform it so they can actually like develop the atmosphere and have life on this planet. So we can go and colonize and gather resources and yada yada yada, expand the human race, all that bullshit. So we go and everything's fine until we get there and we make the call and the guy in charge of the terraforming is like, yeah, we didn't expect a call, but I mean, hey, sure, everything's fine.
We're all
We're just
fine now here.
here. How
How
are
are you?
you? And Picard's like, we're okay. And Counselor Troy looks at him and goes, they're not okay. He goes, he's almost panicking. He's hiding something. And Picard's like, so, well, we're going to come visit you guys and check it out because we're actually really interested in the whole terraforming process and we want to learn more about it. He's like, well, this is sort of kind of irregular and we're really busy. And Picard's like, well, unless you're outright telling us we can't, we're coming down. So see you in a few minutes. So they get down there and they're hanging out and they meet this one girl who's sort of in charge of like the actual microbiological process.
Yeah.
And she's cool. She's like all enthusiastic about it. She's like, "Look, this is what we do." And then we set up the microorganisms and then we let them do their thing and then it becomes this big lush landscape and it's awesome. And then there are these other two guys over there like, "Mwah, mwah, mwah." And they don't seem to be too enthused, but the one guy's all right. The other one's kind of a douche. So the one all right guy, he goes and he goes into the he wanders off to do part of his job, and then suddenly Counselor Troy's like, oh my god, he's in trouble. So they go and they hear him screaming and he's inside this room with this laser drill and the doors are locked closed and he's screaming and finally after he stops screaming all the commotion settles. They open the door and he's there like dead
With the laser blast through his chest.
with a laser blast right through his chest. And so they do some investigation and they realize that this thing, actually shot at him. And they think, well, is it a malfunction? What's going on? So Data goes in and he's checking it out. And as he's working with the console, the thing starts to attack him. And then it actually, like, continually aims for him and attacks him.
Right.
And so he gets locked in. He goes back and forth with it for a few minutes. And then finally, after all of this commotion and everything, Picard's like, what the hell's going on down there? And Geordi's like, oh my god, Data's in trouble.
My best friend.
I know. And he wakes up, or the doors open, and Data walks out, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm good." Geordi's like, "What happened? Oh, it shot at me. Are you okay?" Yeah. Like Data's completely. He just doesn't even care.
Yeah.
And so
His android-like reflexes allowed him to survive.
it's true. He moved like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And he explains, he goes, this isn't just some static program. This thing was actively trying to seek out and destroy me.
Yeah.
So they do a little more investigating, and they find one of those tunnels that they bore. They can see down in there, and there's like this pulsing light. And it's not just something random. There seems to be a pattern to it. So they're able to actually collect a sample of this thing and take it back up to the ship. So they take it to the medical lab, and they're sort of looking at it, and they're like, Well, it's inorganic, but it may actually be life because they're trying to determine whether or not this thing has all of the properties of life.
Yeah.
Whether it secretes, whether it has, whether it respirates, whether it reproduces. And so as they're looking at it and examining it, they start to realize that it actually reacts to them. It reacts to being near them. And then it eventually has an energy surge and splits into two. And then it starts to try to communicate with them. And they're like, whoa, this shit's crazy. So they quarantine off the medical lab. And they're like, okay, something's not right here. And they realize that the dude in charge of this mining facility knew about this. He knew about this before they went in there.
Yeah.
And so they get with him and they're like, okay, what's your problem, dude? Why didn't you tell us about this? He's like, well, I didn't think it was, like traditional life. I didn't think it counted, basically.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't care. This isn't.
It's important to note that Starfleet wouldn't let them terraform if there was any life at all.
Right, exactly.
Or any possibility of life.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's like, no, I didn't think, no. He's like, I didn't think it counted, so it doesn't matter. I got to do my thing. He's all crazy terraforming guy. And so they say, okay, well, we've got to do something about this. In the meantime, the thing continues to replicate, and they realize that the way this life form works is with each cell division that it has, it forms a bigger matrix, and it becomes like it's a computer.
Yeah.
Is the way it works. And then it starts interfacing with the Enterprise computer, and it starts locking them out of a lot of their stuff, so they can't do things remotely. So they're like, well, seal it off into a vacuum. Well, they can't do that. And they're like, well, that's weird. And then they think about it, and they're like, wait a second, this thing's, it's got all this pulsing light. Let's try to cut off the lights. So Riker goes down and manually cuts off the lights, and then the thing starts like talking to them and is like, we're dying, we need the light. And it's like, listen here, don't you start anything with us. You declared war on us, and you're going to be nice, you're going to play nice, or we'll leave the lights off. And they're like, okay, fine, look, just listen, send us back down. In 300 years, you can come back when you're not so primitive and try to befriend us, but just let us live and go back in peace and do our thing. And so they beam it back down. They take the guy and they're like, get the fuck out. And that's basically it.
That's basically it, right? And this is the episode in which we get the term "ugly bags of mostly water."
Yes.
That was a pretty hilarious part.
I know you're a big fan of that one.
That's when the things are first learning how to communicate, they're tapping into the universal translator and forming words with the computer, and they recognize the humans as it's accurate to say that we're bags of mostly water, as Data points out.
It's true. You're right.
But it's very interesting to point out that we're apparently ugly to these people. Because maybe we don't glow, I guess.
Yeah. Probably because we're all fleshy and squeezy, and they're like all crystalline and stuff.
And also, it's they were attacking because they were digging down into the planet to get at this saline water or something.
Yeah, and they realized that this. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, okay. The saline water is basically their brain juice, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Like they form connections through this water. So as they were sucking out this brain juice, they were dying. So they had to retaliate by killing this guy who was drilling, and that's what started it all. And you know the rest.
Yep.
So what do you think?
I think this is a cool episode. And it's. There are a lot of parallels between this one and the episode from the original series with the Horda.
Yeah.
The Horda's not quite so hostile.
True.
Because the Horda is really just scared more than anything.
I don't think it's quite as intelligent either.
Right, and this life form is definitely more intelligent, and it seems to be pretty fucking arrogant.
Yeah.
You made the whole point. You're like, okay, Q. When it's talking about how primitive they were.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's true, though. I mean, the thing did have that sort of sense of, superiority, which, yeah, but don't be a jerk about it.
Calling us ugly.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah, this is a great episode, and this is it's interesting to note that this was my first, the first Star Trek: The Next Generation episode that I had ever seen, and when I saw Data dodge the lasers in the room, that's what made me. That's how I knew Data was my favorite from that moment on, because of that. So that's all.
That's it.
That's all we got.
It was actually a nice, short, sweet week this week. I enjoyed it.
It was good. It was good.
Did we have any messages in the magical box?
No messages.
Because you people are terrible. Your message leaving is bad, and you should feel bad. That's right. I'm talking to you.
But hailing frequencies are still open.
At 513 asterisk. That's 513-278-7475. Call us anytime, day or night. The magical Google Voice machine will pick it up, and you can leave us a message that we may play on air in 2 weeks.
Yes.
And remember, we will be off next week. We'll be off on December 28th for the holidays. But we will be back after the first of the year on January was the 4th.
Something like that.
And then we'll hit the ground running then and keep going with Next Gen.
Yes. In the meantime, you can visit our website for a whole bunch of awesome stuff. You can we've got links to YouTube, to our Tumblr. You can find us. You can donate if you want. You can buy my book, my short story, Dark Matter. And we just put a new link to our Windows app for Windows 8.
That's right. We I know we keep pushing this, but it seems like every week I keep adding new crap to this app. Like I'm on a roll with it. There are videos there, and there's the video from this past week. You scroll over, we've got the normal stuff like tweets and blog posts. And now there's a new feature that if you open a tweet or blog post in the preview, once it opens, you can actually come over here to your charms, and you can share that with your friends. So you can share it with any apps that support sharing, and you'll be able to spread the gift of the Green Asterisk to your friends.
Ooh.
That's right.
It's all fancy.
It is. It's very fancy.
Yeah, so join us in 2 weeks, in which we will explore the episodes, let's see, Coming of Age, Heart of Glory, and The Arsenal of Freedom.
And we're actually getting close to the end of season 1, aren't we?
We're getting there, yeah.
Yeah, we only got a couple more weeks until we're going to finish it up.
Yep. So until then, remember to help control the tribble population.
Have your tribble spayed or neutered.
Live long and prosper.
Goodbye, everybody.